Auburn picks up more predictions from top targets. Hugh Freeze is cruiting.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me today, Darrell Dapprich. Always good to see you outside of our live post-game shows that we do here on Locked On Auburn. But Darrell, we got some exciting recruiting news. Both five-star Cam Coleman and a four-star Martavious Collins picking up predictions from various recruiting outlets saying that they'll go to Auburn. And I think this is just a sign of what Hugh Freeze and this staff are doing. They've been pounding the pavement, and it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I wanted to see from an offensive side of the ball standpoint when Hugh Freeze came aboard is I wanted to see some high-level, maybe five-star recruits in the skill positions. You know, Derek Brown and some of those guys along the defensive line, Papo, linebacker. Auburn got some five-star guys that were defensive guys. Bo Nix obviously was a five-star, but again, I don't count that because it was a legacy. I mean, it's one of those deals where he was always going to go to Auburn. So Walker White being a high four-star, and then this Cam Coleman, who is supposed to be really, really good, five-star receiver, the kind of receivers that we're used to like Georgia and Alabama getting in the mold of a Julio Jones, George Pickens, those kind of guys that are just really freaks, you know, as far as body types and getting the football, very fast, physical difference makers. And Auburn, Kyle Davis and Nate Craig Myers were like the last two five-star receivers I believe Auburn recruited into the fold. Think about how long that's been, and they really just didn't pan out. I think the physical tools were there, but they just never panned out. So Auburn needs guys like this, receivers especially. Receivers can make all the difference in games where you've got to have a goal line score inside the 5, or you got to just throw it up and get someone to go get it. Guys that have that kind of talent are difference makers in close football games, especially in the SEC.
So Cam Coleman, the 4-star/5-star, depending on where you look, wide receiver from Central, listed at 6'3", 185 pounds. On3's prediction machine currently has Auburn as a 93.7% chance of landing his services. And you're right. I mean, we haven't seen a recruiting win like this in a hot minute, and it's not done. Obviously, he hasn't committed to Auburn. Obviously, hasn't signed. He can't do that until December. But just more proof, though, Darrell. This is more proof that the work is being done at a level that we have not seen before. Because that's been the narrative. Literally within minutes after him accepting the job, there were reports he was already calling Auburn's commits to make sure that they were still committed and he wanted to be a part of the 2023 class and all of that. And so just the fact that we're starting to see some of these predictions at a time when we wouldn't normally see them, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, it's just more proof. It's just more proof that Hugh Freeze and his staff are putting an emphasis on recruiting and executing at a level that we haven't seen before here at Auburn.
I look at a couple different variants as to why I consider a new staff coming in and getting recruiting wins that previous staffs didn't. First, I look at position groups. And let's be honest, right out of the gate, Gus Malzahn, I'm even skipping over the potato posse and going right to Gus Malzahn. Auburn struggled getting offensive line recruits. What does Hugh Freeze do? He comes in and he recruits that position group very successfully. Yeah. So I look at that as a win. So I look at position groups. What position groups have you been previously lacking getting? If you get those, and then I also look at schools that locked you out before that you couldn't make inroads into.
Is Central Phoenix City important, you think, Darrell?
Yes, Central Phoenix City is one of those that, we just basically access denied, right? It's like a bad password. We couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And so when you start seeing high schools that you struggled getting players from, all of a sudden maybe getting some of that's when you start counting wins too. Anybody that loves recruiting and wants to know what kind of leeway and what kind of progress Hugh Freeze is making, look at position groups and institutions, high schools that we typically did not have success in. That shows, I think, marked success.
Yep. All right, and then the other guy that Auburn landed a prediction for, Martavious Collins, the 4-star tight end. Some places have him listed as an athlete, but it certainly seems like he's going to be a tight end, H-back, bigger kind of offensive piece. Listed at 6'3", 240, and he's a lean 240. I mean, the guy is built the way you want him to. It's not like he's got much extra weight just sitting on his frame. And this is a guy that was previously committed to Alabama. And ever since Walker White, Auburn's quarterback of the future, we think, ever since he's committed to Auburn, he's been committing Martavious Collins. And I wonder if somebody kind of got some information and about where he was as far as, progress in his recruitment. But for folks to pull the trigger and start giving him some predictions, that's a solid get if Auburn can land that.
Yeah, from Rome, Georgia. So a couple things. Look whose backyard he's in. A school typically, never mind that he was committed to Alabama and decommitted. Georgia's right there, and Georgia's had a lot of success recruiting that type of athletic tight end, kind of a hybrid kind of guy.
Sure.
Georgia's does very well putting tight ends in the league. So if Auburn was able to get him from right outside of Georgia's backyard, that's big. I think a key point with if he goes on and basically commits, ends up signing with Auburn, is playing time. Auburn's tight end room after this year gets very, very small. Other than Riley Decker, I think everyone else leaves. Our good friend Fairweather, Rivaldo, the greatest name in the tight end history.
Sure.
Brom, Deal, those kind of guys. I think Fromm, Deal. I think those guys leave. I think Frazier,
other than Jake Butt, that's a great tight end name.
Absolutely. I think Brandon Frazier could come back, but he hasn't played much as far as contributing. So there's a pathway for a lot of early playing time for this kid, for Collins, and I would like. That's a formidable duo if Riley, starts to come on, the kid from Minnesota. If he ends up being what he could be along with Fairweather this year, that could be a nice little combination next year if Collins signs.
Yeah. And we saw Micah Riley Ducker kind of grouped with Fairweather. Those guys were on one side, and then Deal and Fromm were the other tight ends that were kind of grouped together, which I think those are going to be more of the blocking backs, and Riley Ducker and Fairweather maybe more of the receiving tight ends. So we'll see. And then just worth noting that according to Jeffrey Lee at a post that he put up on 3 about Collins, he is planning his 3rd visit to Auburn. He will be on campus at some point this spring. I don't think the logistics have been finalized according to the timing of that piece, but the fact that there's interest there is it's all good. It's all good signs for Auburn recruiting right now. Because I think people were getting a little antsy. I think people were kind of wondering, okay, when's the next commit coming? Because there was some positive momentum. You pick up Walker White, and we've been told, he's been trying to win all these kids over, members of his class, and then nothing. It's kind of been nothing for a little bit. And what we're about to talk about may be part of the reason why. But this is fun. I think all these predictions dropping on Wednesday afternoon was really, really fun. So coming up, Darrell, I'm going to talk with Zep Jasper about what's coming up in the SEC tournament. Before that, let's touch on a very interesting development when it comes to Auburn's running back recruiting. We'll tell you what we're hearing about that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, Darrell. And FanDuel has put out the line for Auburn, Arkansas, which the time most of you guys watching and listening to this will be this evening. Auburn, a 0.5 point favorite over the Razorbacks. How you feeling about that?
I thought it would be about 3 just because of maybe seeding and overall record and Auburn having beat Arkansas head-to-head. But when I think about it and I look back on it, that's about right. It's a pick-em game on a neutral floor. You think about that. Every projection's got Arkansas as a 7 or 8 seed. So if they're saying Auburn's a 0.5 point favorite, maybe, that's where Auburn ends up. Who knows? Yeah.
Over under on FanDuel is 143.5, and it's a 0.5 point spread. So they're expecting it to be close in the low 70s. So take that for what you will. Jump on it at FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more about their no sweat first bet. up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, the NFL, and the Locked On Podcast Network. Darrell, every Cruton Thursday that we've had, I ask whoever it's on, whether it's Cole Pinkston, whether it's John Garcia, and now it's us talking about it today, like, when is Fat Burnett, the running back, going to commit to Auburn? I mean, it seemed like it's been a lock for forever, and he's been kind of teasing it on social media. So a few days ago, he tweets out a lock emoji. And of course, Auburn people are like, oh, it's done. We got him. It's just a matter of time for him to announce. And then the next day, yesterday, he tweets out, I'm paraphrasing here, but he tweets out that his commitment's 100% open.
His recruitment's 100% open.
Yes. Thank you for correcting me.
Which is why I said that, is because how do you have your recruitment 100% open when you never previously committed to somebody? That's very interesting play on words, which tells me I think he was maybe a silent commit somewhere. Because if you've not publicly professed you're committing to somebody, then your recruitment has stayed open. It never closed, except for the lock emoji that we had the previous day. Very confusing. And all the semantics of how are you listen, if you've not publicly committed to somebody, of course your commitment is 100% open. That's the way I take that. So for him to say that something happened to sour him, or, the lock thing while he was in Pennsylvania, many took it to say Penn State. I don't think so. I think he's ready and just chomping at the bit to recruit to Auburn, but they're doing due diligence and being very cautious about some medical concerns.
Yeah, there's some concerns regarding that, is what we've heard, and it's tied to the reason that he missed the playoffs last season. And so we're not going to get into the details or anything like that, but that seems to be the main storyline of all revolving around Fat Burnett's situation. A big bruising running back. Some people said he didn't fit the scheme. I don't buy that. You take big, bulky backs that can run in between the tackles in the SEC all the time. You're not asking him to be the guy. And if he turns into, a Cameron Artist Payne, like, great, you take that. So I didn't buy that for a second. But the fact that it seems like this staff is kind of slowing their roll on him is interesting. Due diligence is something that's important when it comes to recruiting and roster management, Darrell. I don't think anybody will question that. I do wonder, and this is just me kind of taking a leap out there, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, do they feel good about other running backs that they're in on, if they're comfortable enough saying, this may not be the best move long-term?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe in a class, the upcoming class, they may take two. And so they have to be very careful on the two they take. And I think they probably have their sights. I would believe that if there wasn't medical concerns, this is just my opinion, if there wasn't medical concerns, he would have been probably their top target and would have already taken his commitment.
Okay.
And in light of some things that have happened since then, they're just being very cautious and very weary, and may have gone down to 2 and 3 on their board. And I get it. I mean, you have to do that, because if you take 2 and one comes into your program and has medical concerns and doesn't get to play, then you've basically only taken 1. So you have, it's better to take 2 that are going to contribute, even if 2 and 3 options are a little less talented or a little less rated than Burnett. In the long run, you're going to do better if they can contribute. Because I've always said the best ability in athletes is availability.
Right.
And so that's what you've got to do. I mean, you've got to make sure they can contribute. And
then just to kind of put a bow on recruiting talk, another prediction was thrown in Auburn's favor for D'Angelo Barber, the 6 foot, 220-pound linebacker from Clay Chalkville over in Pinson, Alabama. On3's prediction machine has Auburn at a 95.8% chance to land his services. And so, I mean, it sounds like they want a handful of linebackers, but they're going after a bunch of linebackers. And it seems like strategically, if you're the linebacker being recruited, it would do you better to commit early so you have your spot. And I think that's kind of some of the Joeseph Phillips stuff too. And he got a prediction, but I think Auburn's been favored for him for a long time. So, but if those are your two linebackers for this class, I think you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you going ahead and get that out of the way enables you to just start recruiting by need and going, okay, our linebacker situation is taken care of. If we get these two running backs, that's taken care of. Our tight end, and then man, you can really start honing in as you want to finish out this class as to filling in. Okay, now let's assess the areas of needs while we've got these kids that have committed early and got them off the table. That's a wonderful way to recruit, because what happens is you're able to go ahead and just get a kid that's a 4-star, high 4-star, or 5-star that may not be a position in need. You just take him because he's a difference maker, and you want to have guys like that on your roster.
Well, and that's the difference between recruiting while you're ahead instead of always just being behind, right?
Man, because you settle. You settle when you recruit behind. You look and go, oh, my God, I don't have enough offensive linemen. Let me take this 3-star project offensive lineman because I have to, and see if I can turn him into something.
Or let's turn this defensive tackle into an offensive lineman, which we've seen a million times in the last decade.
Absolutely. So that's where you can start to just say, well, look, I've got 3 receivers or 2 receivers in this class, but heck no, I'm not refusing this kid's commitment because he's a difference maker, or this running back, or whoever. I mean, you don't have to get desperate at the end of the hour.
All right, we're going to hop over to our conversation with Zep Jasper in just a moment. Darrell, how can people give you some love, brother?
Twitter, DAP6410. You can catch me there. Follow me. I'll follow you back. You can catch me Monday mornings at 7:10 on WANI Auburn Opelika this morning with Ben Taylor, and then later on that afternoon at 1:35 on the Max Roundtable. And
of course, Darrell and I go live after every Auburn basketball game, so be sure to check that out. That includes the postseason. So tune in tonight after Auburn and Arkansas. Auburn guard Zep Jasper joining us right before you guys are about to hit the road and fly to Nashville to get ready for the SEC tournament. What a way to end the season, Zep. Senior day, it looks like you got a little emotional out there. You thought that was a chance of that. Kind of go through senior day and what all that meant to you and your family.
Well, senior day was pretty important for me, for me and my family, because of, everything I've been through my whole life. And, I beat the odds. I did things people say I couldn't do. I played in the SEC. I went to College of Charleston. So I'm grateful. I done met so many great people here. Yeah. Got many great relationships. And I really love Auburn. So, my last game being in Neville Arena, it really, made me feel emotional. It made me want to just give it my all for my last game in there. And, I started shedding tears because it means so much to me, maybe not like other players, but to me, yeah, it means so much to me. Like, it means the most. And, I'm just grateful for the opportunity that Auburn gave me, that the Auburn community gave me, the fans, the family, the kids. And, that hurt me because, I got to leave something that I love. Yeah. So, me going out there, walking out there and get my name called on senior night, I just felt the love and I felt the emotionless, just going out there. I had a kid tell me, before I even walked out, she told me, hey, Zep, I don't want you to leave, and I was like, yeah, me too. And I wanted to cry then because it's like, man, I got so many kids out here that I love, that I actually know, right. I'm not one of those people that forget who I meet. Every kid I meet, I make sure I remember them. And, it's a little girl, and I always hug her before, sometimes she comes to away games, sometimes she comes to home games, but sure. I gave her a hug, and I was just like, man, I hold it in, I cried in, but I the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was such a cool moment because, several of the folks like you and Alan and Lior, you all had really big moments throughout the game. You shut down, you were a big part of why Tennessee didn't make a field goal in the last 6 minutes, which is ridiculous to say out loud. That's just tremendous the way you guys closed on Saturday. Alan had that incredible dunk, didn't count because the foul was called on the floor, but still, I mean, just an incredible moment for him. And then Lior's dunk. I mean, how great was that?
It was pretty good. I wish Lior dunk would have been in motion, like when you're running and you get to him. It could have been in motion, but I just know he's grateful that he got a dunk.
Yeah,
I don't think Lior
cool.
got a dunk all year, but to have a person like Lior to get a dunk, to get the crowd going, to get to have a burst of energy, to get some momentum. I loved it because it just shows you that, my boy Lior got hops too now.
He got up there. That's right.
With easy. And, I was just pretty excited he came to the bench. It's like, man, that felt good. Hey, I said, man, you look good out there. I told him as soon as he came to the bench, you look good, man.
Yeah, I could tell all of you guys were wanting to like just run to him and like celebrate with him, but yeah, obviously couldn't. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, so seems like you guys are playing some of your best ball of the year right now, and a big narrative going into the SEC tournament now, Zep, is okay. You guys, if you keep this up, I mean, you guys are shooting at the highest rate behind the arc since y'all's lost to Tennessee. You guys lead the SEC in 3-point percentage. And like that's kind of been the biggest question mark about this team offensively is, how efficient can this team be from behind the arc? And you guys are doing the best that you have all year. What does that potentially mean, Zep?
Well, to me, it means something, for the last of the regular season. But
yeah,
I tell people like this. We erase numbers. We don't give a freak what the numbers is now. I don't care if we go 0 for 18 and win the game. Numbers don't matter no more.
Yeah.
We throwing numbers out the way. We throwing percentages out the way. As long as we get those wins, I don't care if it's pretty. I don't care if it's dirty. I don't care how we do it. We just need to win because that's the most important thing. It's doing it right now. It's getting those wins because, coaches right now, only thing they're looking to get right now is hardware and that ring, that trophy, cutting those nets.
Right.
And the only way we going to Nashville only thing we're doing to go to Nashville is win that ring and cut down those nets because actually we got revenge. We was number one team in the SEC last year.
Right.
Went down there, lost to Texas A&M, and actually shot bad first half, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of our worst shooting percentages ever.
Right. Y'all had to come back. And, yeah.
We had to come back. So, as a person, me, thinking about that, I've been sleeping about this past few days because it's like, last year I went in this thing and confident, hyped. And we lost to a good Texas A&M team. Now I get another chance. My last year is like, I got to give it everything. I got to give it my all. I got to act like this is my last chance playing basketball. Like, I'm going to go out there and go off my head on fire. Like, I'm losing hair. Like, that's how I'm going to go out there because I have no choice because we have to win. I want this as much as anyone right now. Like, I want to win it for so many people. My family, those coaches, these fans, and the kids I love out here. I just want to do it for them.
Zep, as good as anyone that the best place to watch, whether it's SEC tournament games, whether it's NCAA tournament games, you guys will obviously be involved in both at this point. The best place to watch them is at Baumhauer's. Baumhauer's Victory Grill off of the Bent Creek exit just as you get into Auburn. And they've got something for everybody, Zep. I think that's what makes it such a great place because not only do they have like 1,000 TVs, no matter which way you look, you're going to be able to see every game that's on at the same time. But also they've got great burgers, which you like their burgers. We've talked about their pizza, the shrimp that everybody loves so much. But it's just Auburn, right? I mean, you walk into Baumhauer's and you're like, you're amongst Auburn people. And I think that's what makes it great.
Oh yeah. You're going to see a lot of fans in there this week. Because we're going to bring our game on the court. So I need y'all to bring it at Bombs.
Let's go. Yep, that's right. That's right. So be sure to check out Baumhauer's Victory Grill off of the Bent Creek exit on I-85. All right, so you guys open up conference tournament play with Arkansas. A team that, you've kind of hinted at before. And then your teammate Wendell Green said it in press availability earlier this week. Like, you guys don't like Arkansas. So what's kind of the mindset going into playing this team?
Well, as I remember last year, I got on here and said one remark, which I didn't play when they went to Arkansas. I remember me saying something, and then tournament last year came up, the SEC tournament. I got on here again and said, I hope to get to Arkansas last year. If you remember, I had all those fans coming at me last year on
That
Twitter.
went pretty viral. Yeah, that's right.
That went pretty viral. I had all the clips of this was all on their social media sites and everything. But, I'm not going to say we don't like them. I respect Arkansas. They got a lot of good players. Got a lot of great young players at that. Players that can go, who can get in transition and just do all types of things. But it's a game. It's a game that will have a lot of energy, which they will have a lot of energy too. But Eric Musselman, he always did good in the postseason. If you check his resume, he always do good in the postseason. He didn't went to Elite 16.
Two straight Elite 8s. Yep.
Two Elite 8s. So you check his resume, he always do good when it's crunch time. But, I don't look at this game as a revenge game. I don't look at this game as we don't like them. I just look at it as a game that they beat us when we was number one. Plain and simple. But this is going to be a tough physical game. May the best win. But I look forward to seeing some Arkansas fans in, Nashville. And, last year I had some couple of Twitter exchanges, but I won't have none this year. So I want to tell all y'all Arkansas fans, I won't be saying anything back to y'all if y'all have any words for me. But,
I remember, Zep, when that went viral, I texted you like, dude, I am so sorry.
I remember. And I tell you, hey, it's a part of the game. That's what I do. I love it. I love it.
And that's why you come to the SEC, because it's just different. I mean, you've just got such intense fans, and the competition's so high. I mean, that's what you ask for. It's to some extent. So,
no doubt.
Zep, is there a team in the SEC tournament that, like, okay, you'd like to keep winning to play a certain team again, or does that not matter?
Well, for me, I really say both. It don't matter.
Sure.
But it matters.
Okay.
Because the side we on, if you look at the schedule, right? Texas A&M, they on that side.
Mm-hmm.
We win. They didn't beat us 3 times in a row. And guess what they did last year? They took me out the SEC tournament.
Right.
They beat us twice this year.
Right.
Okay. Then I see Kentucky on this side. I see Vanderbilt on this side. Ain't these all the teams that beat us?
That's right.
So that should give our team a chip on their shoulder. We can beat Arkansas. This team better have a chip on their shoulder because we have no choice. We know people doubting us. We know that they want to play us because they already beat us. The Kentuckys, I know everyone's going to count us out. I just know. But I see a lot of people got Kentucky winning the SEC.
Yeah, that seems to be the most popular one right now.
Yeah, as I've been looking at, they got them winning.
I've seen a lot of people say Vanderbilt as well, which surprises me a little bit, but I get it.
I would say Kentucky. I would say Kentucky because they're actually the front runners right now. If you would think to win it.
Yeah, they're playing well. So the plan against Arkansas, I mean, their roster's a little different than when you guys beat them earlier this year. Is it Nick Smith? That's his name, right? The guard. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty explosive. I assume you'll be defending him a lot.
I think you're pretty correct on that. I don't know where you get the sources from, but you're 100% correct on that one.
Sure. I mean, what do you see in him? I mean, the guy's pretty dynamic.
I see a lot of great things in Nick Smith. Nick Smith can go. Yeah. He's going to be an NBA player come July. He's one of those guys that you have to stop him going downhill. He's one of those guys that just keep going and keep going. Coming out ball screens. doing floaters, 2 feet floaters, and
Mhm.
just making all types of tough shots. With him, you have to stop him from going right. You have to force him left, but he can go both ways, but you just got to make sure you take tough shots.
Yeah.
And I'm a defender that hang my hats on guarding the best player. So, it ain't nothing I can't do. I've been watching some Patrick Beverly clips past 2 days. So I think I should be ready to guard a great guard like Nick Smith. I think I'll be ready.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a good matchup for sure. And you could tell early in the season they were definitely missing him. But I mean, it's got to be exciting. A player that every mock draft has going in the first round, and it's like you get the opportunity to go up against them. Like that. That's got to be pretty motivating.
Oh yeah, it's pretty motivating. But me, I'm a humble guy, man. I really be happy for those type of guys.
Totally. Yeah.
Because these boys, they grew up. He was one of those guys. He was a late bloomer. Coming out of high school, and he ended up like his 11th grade summer, like he was ranked like 30, and then he went to like 2 to 3. Like,
oh wow, okay,
those type of guys, like I'm happy for. But you're right. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm just to show him. I'm one of the best defenders in the country, but like to show him that this won't be easy.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's one of the best players. Predicted to go in the NBA, but this won't be an easy game. I'm hanging my hat on defense this game. I'm giving it my all. Like, mark my words, I'm slapping the floor. I might get. I usually don't celebrate, but I'm slapping the floor. I'm giving it my all this time.
No, I think that's great. You don't know how many more games you have, so yeah, absolutely go all in. Zep, what do you say to the fans, the Auburn fans that say, okay, this season was, there's several people that are kind of saying this season hasn't been a success yet, but still 20 wins, which, I mean, Auburn's only done 9 previous times, I believe. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that narrative? Or do you say, hey, they're right, we haven't done anything in the postseason yet?
Well, for me, really can't get into all that because we haven't beat some of the teams we were supposed to beat in close games.
Sure.
But we knew we wasn't going to win a regular season title, at a certain point in time, and that's the goal in a regular season. Mm-hmm. We got 20 wins. We're going to make March Madness.
Right.
We still got a chance to win an SEC title in Nashville. So what do they expect? We didn't low achieve. Mm-hmm. We actually did some things that people thought we wouldn't do, losing Jabari and Walker.
Right.
2 of the best college players in college basketball last year. So I didn't think we underachieved, but I think we could have did better. I think we could have won a little bit more games, maybe 3-4 more games, but man, we're in a position to do something and make history. If I can come out and win the SEC title in Nashville, I bet they won't say nothing about being underachieved then.
I bet you're right.
I bet they'd be like, oh, this team is working with something. I bet they change their mind. They go from, I don't know, to, oh yeah, we working with something now. So
right.
That's why I say, all that stuff throw it out the window because we can be a North Carolina team like last year.
Mm-hmm.
And turn it on like this. So all that stuff don't matter. It's crunch time now. It's go time. We leaving out all in the past.
Zep, have safe travels up to Nashville, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
That does it for today's show. Thank you so much to Darrell. Thank you so much to Zep Jasper for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow. You can follow me on socials at Zac Blackerby and check out all of my written work at auburndaily.com. We'll see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.